mentally draining and stressful.
Having.
Yeah, I mean, I do think you need to have a serious-minded person on the other side, right? If you're debating someone whose like main job is to slander you and to engage in ad hominem then yeah, that's a very, very different thing.
Or even to play games based on the fact that the evidence is full of nonsense. The literature says many things that aren't true, and so the point is somebody can bury you in bad studies all day long, and it doesn't get you anywhere, right?
But I suspect you both agree that Hotez's position that somehow RFK is not worthy of a debate is probably not correct, right?
No, of course not, because for one thing, he's attacked RFK's position rather directly, and so the point is, okay, let's put the two head to head, and then we can decide who's more persuasive.
I mean, I think you can solve that debate problem partly by, if I'm going to debate somebody, show me the evidence in advance so I can assess your evidence. I'll show you my evidence, and we're only limited to citing the evidences that we've shown each other. I think they kind of do that in like legal circles or something like that. I mean, I think you could have rules that would make that for a constructive thing. The key thing is, like, I did high school debate. I really liked winning. It was fun. But the purpose of the debate isn't to win here. The purpose of the debate is to learn from each other. Like if Brett says something that was this a debate, Brett? I don't know. I don't think it was a debate. What it was like a really important, a friendly conversation where I learned from you. Like that should be the goal. Is like what have we gained from each other rather than winning? Because there's no like winning and means.
Well, I would agree that the ground rules, and in fact, the word debate is the wrong word, right? Debate is an attempt to win. And from my perspective, I've sworn off debates permanently, right? The correct term is dialectic. And what that means is that you engage in it to figure out what's true, right? Jay, if you're right and I'm wrong, I want you to win. Right? I want to be persuaded because I want to stop being wrong. And the problem is we have way too much debate where people are interested in scoring points and they don't give a damn what's right.
So this is a book that's in some of the schools in California. Florida, this is not consistent with our standards, called Gender Queer. Some of it's blacked out. You would not probably be able to put this on air.
I have no doubt that whatever clip I'm about to play of Ron DeSantis is going to make total sense.
The role of the schools to educate kids, not indoctrinate kids. It's not to impose an agenda. It's to do the basics. And what we've said in Florida is it's inappropriate to tell a kindergartner that their gender is a choice. It's inappropriate to tell a second grader that they may have been born in the wrong body. Now, California has that. They want to have that injected into the elementary school. My wife and I have a 7-5 and a 3-year-old. We don't think that that's appropriate. And I know most parents do not think it's appropriate. It's also important to respect parental rights to know what curriculum is being used in the classroom, and everything should be age appropriate. I actually have something that I brought that some parents have objected to. So this is a book that's in some of the schools in California. Florida, this is not consistent with our standards, called Gender Queer. Some of it's blacked out. You would not probably be able to put this on air. This is pornography. It's cartoons. It's aimed at children, and it's wrong. So this should not be in schools. When people like on the left say that somehow you're banning books by removing this from a young kid's classroom, no, this is not age appropriate. And so we're going to stand for the rights of parents. I think we need to do that nationwide. I don't think you can have a situation where some states just trample on the rights of parents. Parents have a fundamental right to direct the education and upbringing of their kids.
I mean,
this is a map of San Francisco. There's a lot of plots on that. You may be asking, what is that plotting?
I have no doubt that whatever clip I'm about to play of Ron DeSantis is going to make total sense.
According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, these are the numbers for the homeless population in each of your states. It is a big problem around the country. In the state of California, it is 172,000. In Florida, it is 26,000. I ask you, why the disparity? What are the policies you are implementing that is different from that of California?
California is adopting leftist policies. Gavin Newsom was governor or mayor of San Francisco. He put out a 10-year plan like 20 years ago. He was going to end homelessness. Then a few years later, he had another plan. And now he says he's going to do, and it's only gotten worse. In the last 10 years in California, the homeless has gone up 45%. It's gone down in Florida 45%. But it's caused a huge problem with quality of life in California. The people that flee always bring up this. They've really empowered lawlessness and drug use. And, you know, Gavin Newsom at one point tried to say that California was the freedom state. And I just kind of laughed, like, you're locking people down, you're doing all this. But then I thought about it, you know, California does have freedoms that some people don't, that other states don't. You have the freedom to defecate in public in California. You have the freedom to pitch a tent on Sunset Boulevard. You have the freedom to create a homeless encampment under a freeway and even light it on fire. You have the freedom to have an open air drug market and use drugs. You have the freedom, if you're an illegal alien, to get all these taxpayer benefits. So those are freedoms. They're not the freedoms our founding fathers envisioned, but they have contributed to the destruction of the quality of life in California, and the results speak for themselves. People are leaving the state because they have failed in addressing the homeless population.
We are investing unprecedented resources, more accountability. We've gotten 68,000 people off the streets, close to 6,000 encampments we've gotten off the streets. We've also invested in unprecedented resources in reforming our behavioral health system. Ron has literally the worst mental health system in America, forgive me, outside of Mississippi and Texas. And so with all due respect to being lectured on some of these topics, Ron DeSantis is not the one I'm going to be listening
30-second response. You're, well, I'm looking at total time. Governor DeSantis, about 2 minutes.
He needs it.
This is a map of San Francisco. There's a lot of plots on that. You may be asking, what is that plotting? Well, this is an app where they plot the human feces that are found on the streets of San Francisco. And you see how almost the whole thing is covered, because that is what has happened in one of the previous greatest cities this country's ever had. Human feces is now a fact of life, except when a communist dictator comes to town. Then they cleaned up the streets. They lined the streets with Chinese flags. They didn't put American flags there. They cleaned everything up. So they're willing to do it for a communist dictator, but they're not willing to do it for their own people.
I want to get in with the limited time we have left. I want to get, there are two very important issues we have not hit. All right, welcome back to the great blue state, red state debate with Governor Gavin Newsom, Governor Ron DeSantis. Again, thank you both for being here. We're going to take a little breathing room. I don't mind the debate taking on a life of its own, but let each other breathe. I don't want to be the hall monitor. Please don't turn me into that. Anyway, let's look at the issue of crime. FBI numbers violent crime nationally for each of your states. Keep in mind, this statistic shows what is the combined rate of homicide, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, the year 2022. On the national level, the rate was 380.7 offenses per 100,000 people. In California, meanwhile, the rate was much higher, 499.5 offenses per 100,000. In Florida, lower, 258.9 offenses per 100,000. Governor Newsom, let me start with you. Your numbers are way higher than the national average. How do you explain that when safety and security, I would argue, is a prerequisite for the pursuit of happiness?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. We're near 50-year lows, down 55% violent crimes in the state of California from the 1990s. And I want to compare and contrast that with the issue in Florida that you didn't mention, and that's the murder rate. And let's broaden it more broadly. The issue is 7 of the top 10.
Those numbers were part of the murder rate.
7 of the top 10 murder rates in the United States of America are red states. He has a 66% higher gun death rate than the state of California. He has a higher murder rate. Go to places like Jacksonville. Go to places like Orlando. Go to places like Tampa. The murder rate's off the charts compared to cities like San Francisco. And you know what? Even more egregiously, Sean, and I think this is important, the American people deserve an answer from you, Ron. You had one of the worst mass shootings in American history, Parkland. 17 kids were gunned down, lives lost, 17 others, lives torn asunder. You had a young girl by the name of Jamie Gutenberg, whose father pleaded with you to do something about it. And you know what you did? They did the exact opposite. You made it easier for felons to get guns without background checks, without any training. These people pleaded with you, the parents and the families, to get tough on gun safety. And again, you made it easier for felons. He said of you, Ron, and I agree with him, after you signed that concealed carry bill, which increases the likelihood, Fred Gutenberg said, of more Jamies losing their lives and more Parklands, he called you weak, pathetic, and small. So with respect, I appreciate you're talking to police officers in the state of California. You may want to spend a little bit
Also
more
a
time,
lie.
not on the Ohio Trail and other places across this country. You may spend a little more time back in your home state and address the murder and gun violence in your own backyard.
So this is the slick politician. You put up the rates. He has 500 per 100,000. Florida is 250. So that's almost twice as much. And he's trying to spin that to say California's doing good. People are leaving California in droves, largely because public safety has collapsed. They have, I mean, you go, when Californians come to Florida, one of the things they'll say, it's almost like an out-of-body experience. They can go to the store, get toothpaste off the shelf, pay for it, and leave, because in a lot of these places in California, everything's under lock and key because they've basically legalized retail theft. They have chosen in California to put the interests of the criminals over public safety. They're easier on sex offenders. They're easier on all these crimes that are leading to a collapse in the quality of life. And if you just walk around San Francisco, you will see, and I think it's interesting, Gavin Newsom was mayor of San Francisco. So he took the San Francisco model, turned that into a template for California's collapse. Now the left wants to take the California model and use that as a template for America's collapse. We cannot let that happen.
Governor, I got a follow-up question.
You brought up Jacksonville, Florida, compared to San Francisco, is 126% higher.
Governor, let me bring up
it's 84%
the next question
higher.
dovetails
in
into
Tampa,
this.
It's 75% higher. What?
Let me also say,
what are you talking about
you're
when it
just
comes
jabbering.
to this?
I know you like to jabber.
By the way, those are all easily
I know you like to lie.
Anytime you're uncomfortable,
He put the statistics up there.
Those are all facts.
Your crime is higher.
What are you doing about
we know
the
your
gun
crime's
murder rate
higher.
Gentlemen,
what are you
I'm
doing
going to move
about
on.
the gun murder rate in your state?
We'll let the audience look at the numbers, the FBI numbers, and decide. According to the gun control advocacy group, Every Town for Gun Safety, okay? California has the most, as you support, I know, Governor, restrictive gun laws in the United States. Yes. Florida has the 19th most restrictive. Yet, if you look at the year 2019, when each of you took office, California has had 21 mass shootings. Florida has had 9. Now, that is according to a USA Today, AP, Northeastern University database data. Keep in mind, a mass killing is defined as the intentional killing of 4 or more victims, excluding the deaths of unborn children and the offenders by any means within a 24 period of time. I believe, Governor DeSantis, you get this first. Go ahead.
What California wants to do is they want to make it harder for law-abiding citizens to defend themselves. Then they go easy on the criminals who are perpetrating the crime. They don't stand up for the men and women of law enforcement. That's why a lot of people have left the state, because they don't get the support from the communities that they need. And, you know, Gavin told another lie. He said we made it easier for felons to do. Felons are not allowed to possess firearms. That's federal law. That's been long-standing.
No background checks.
That is an absolute lie that he's saying like that. That has nothing to do with buying or purchasing a weapon. So that's just a lie, another lie that's coming up. But here's the thing. People are leaving California in droves because he has failed to stand up for public safety. They are on an ideological joyride to let people out of prison early, to go easy on them. Heck, your buddy, Gavin's buddy in Los Angeles, Gascon, he doesn't even prosecute. When you have, when I was in Southern California for the Reagan debate, a lot of the women tell me they have to take off all their jewelry just to be able to go shopping, because otherwise they're going to get mugged. That is the reality that people are facing in California. Right. Gavin can try to put lipstick on that pig, but the fact of the matter is he has failed the people of California.
Governor Newsom. I love this guy talking about backing the blue. When you dangled pardons for January 6 insurrectionists, 85 of them that were charged with attacking law enforcement. You talk a big game about backing the blue. With all due respect to the crime rate, again, he's not answering the fact that he has a higher murder rate than the state of California, a 66% higher gun death rate than the state of California. And I can easily answer this point. Gun safety saves lives. I don't think it, I know it. And the data bears that out in the state of California. California proudly does lead in terms of common sense gun safety. Common sense gun safety saves lives. You had the chance to do something meaningful. You had a chance to do something on behalf of those Parkland families. You did the exact exact opposite. You moved in the exact opposite direction. With all due respect, look at your own backyard, Ron.
So
You're
I
not
will
mining
do that.
your
But can I
backyard
respond
on
to
this
that?
issue.
I will do that because we had two radical left Soros district attorneys like your buddy Gascon in LA, one in Tampa, one in Orlando. They were endangering the public, and I removed them from their posts. Gavin Newsom has not lifted a finger to rein in Gascon in LA. That city has collapsed. That county's collapsed because he is not enforcing the law. So that's just and here's the thing.
American
this is what's happening. That California model,
We're a little
that's
over
been
time.
done in Philadelphia,
15
Baltimore, all
15 seconds. We got to go break.
Come on. I mean, you're running for president of the United States. You're talking down the great state of California. You're talking down one of the great American cities, Los Angeles. That's insulting. And you're doing it because you're trying to obfuscate the facts that you have a higher murder rate in the state of Florida and the state of California.
We got to
some
take
of
a
the
break.
lowest crime rates we've had in 50 years.
We'll have more with Governor DeSantis, Governor Gavin Newsom on
the 10th and final issue, and though there are certainly plenty of others, where the governor of our state gave a completely false and misleading characterization of what life is like as California, and that is on the issue of personal freedom. The governor called California the freedom state, but the Cato Institute rankings of freedom in the 50 states rank California as the 48th most free state. Florida ranked second out of the 50 states. Just look at what happened, of course, during the COVID lockdowns, where California had the highest measure of government control, the least measure of personal choice and freedom. But it began long before that. California has every year continued to erode the rights and freedoms of its residents. When it comes to economic freedom, for example, Newsom signed into law AB 5, which has deprived countless people of their right to earn a living, effectively abolishing independent contracting for many professions in California. And now his former labor secretary, Julie Su, is trying to do the same thing through the regulatory process here in Washington, D.C. Or just look at things like, bans on straws, bans on gas-powered leaf blowers, bans on chopsticks and other single-use food items, bans on even gas-powered vehicles by 2035 if Gavin Newsom has his way. Every day in California, we wake up wondering what is going to be banned next. And for Newsom to somehow claim we are the freedom state is a delusion of the highest order. I want to close by making this point, though, Mr. Speaker, which is that California, I believe, is the greatest state in the country. It's the state where everyone has always wanted to come to. We have everything to offer, and there are so many great things about our state, the amazing people and diversity and cultures and world-leading companies. In California, we have great universities in our state as well. We have so many great things going, and we still have parts of our state that people are moving to and want to live in. Specifically, my district. My district is one of the few parts of California that is growing right now. In fact, while the state as a whole has for 3 straight years led the nation in U-Haul departures, the largest city in my district, Roseville, last year was second in the nation in U-Haul arrivals. And so why is it that people are moving to our area while they're leaving other parts of California? Well, the reason is that we have fought against the failed governance model that Gavin Newsom has tried to impose on the state as a whole, and that is in an especially advanced stage in places like San Francisco. During the COVID years, we fought in every way we could to allow our communities to follow the evidence and allow citizens to live their lives as they saw fit. We ended up getting our kids back to school sooner than any other part of California. We ended up having an unemployment rate in Placer County, for example, that it was about half the rest of the state. And what was the result of that? We actually ended up having way better COVID-19 outcomes than the state as a whole because we focused on the things that would actually make a difference on disease control rather than population control, rather than gratuitously taking away the personal freedoms of our residents. But even before COVID, and now after, at least as we've moved away from that paradigm, we continue to try to chart a different course than California as a whole has taken. We support small businesses in our communities rather than attacking them. We support law enforcement in our communities rather than defunding police and rather than contributing to a false and misleading narrative, negative narrative about our law enforcement. We have led the entire nation in going after fentanyl dealers and charging them with murder so we don't have more of our kids continuing to get victimized. So when Gavin Newsom says California is a model for the nation, nothing could be further from the truth, but I am very proud to represent communities that do represent a model for how California as a whole can once again become the Golden State. So I would just encourage everyone who watched the debate last night to take a close look at the facts, because there is an increasing tendency for California's failures to become national failures. And as a representative from California, I will be fighting in every way I can to make sure that that doesn't happen. Thank you, and I yield back.